welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It's a chilly Tuesday evening when I first hear the whispers that threaten to unravel my life. The sun has barely tucked itself behind the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, as I gather with a few neighbors on my front lawn. I'm trimming the edges of my grass, trying to keep busy, to keep my mind off the gnawing feeling that something in my life is amiss. Frank, a retired police officer who lives next door, ambles over with his hands stuffed deep in his pockets. His face wears that solemn look, a mask for when he bears bad news. "Hey, Matt, got a minute?" he asks, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Sure, Frank, what's up?" I reply, straightening up and wiping the sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. He glances around, making sure no one else is within earshot, before he leans in closer. "It's probably nothing, but I've seen Laura a few times downtown. She seems to be spending a lot of time at that new cafe on Main. Always with the same guy," he murmurs, his eyes searching mine for a reaction. "Laura, my wife, the hostess at Café Belleville, a quaint little spot she's always loved. But she never mentioned spending time with anyone particularly." My heart sinks, a cold wave washes over me, but I keep my face neutral. "And?" I probe, trying to sound casual. "Well, they seem close. Very close." "Thought you should know," Frank adds, looking uncomfortable. I thank him with a nod, feeling a storm brewing inside me. The rest of the evening, I pretend everything is normal. We have dinner, Laura and I, talking about mundane things. But her eyes, bright and unaware of my storm, now seem distant, veiled. A few restless nights later, I receive a text from Frank. It's brief, "They're at the cafe now." That's all it takes for me to slip on my jacket and head out into the biting cold. My car rolls to a stop across the street from Café Belleville. The warm glow from inside spills out onto the sidewalk, a stark contrast to the darkness gnawing at my insides. With a deep breath, I push the door open. The familiar tinkle of the bell doesn't soothe me tonight. I spot her almost immediately, Laura, with her luminous smile, sitting far too close to a man I've never seen. A man whose hands are on her, whose lips find hers in a moment that feels both fleeting and eternal. The room spins. I hear my own heartbeat, loud in my ears, as rage fills my veins. They haven't seen me yet. I stand there, frozen, witnessing the betrayal with my own eyes. Without a word, I leave, the image seared into my brain, Laura, my wife, laughing on another man's lap, kissing him like she used to kiss me. Revenge, a dark and twisted path, now seems the only road left to travel. I don't know how yet, but I vow to myself that I will break them as they have broken me. My pride, my trust, shattered in one evening. That night, as I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, I realize that everything is about to change. There is no going back. The next few days are a blur of anger, legal advice, and silent dinners. Laura senses the change but doesn't know the cause. Not yet. But she will. The morning sun is barely cresting the skyline when I make the decision that today will be the day. The air is crisp, a prelude to a confrontation that I know can no longer be delayed. My heart races with a cocktail of dread and determination as I drive back to Café Belleville. Today, I won't be an unseen spectator. Today, I face the truth head-on. I push through the cafe door, the bell chiming my arrival. Laura is there, setting up for the morning rush, her back to me. The guy, however, her new interest, isn't around, much to my relief. I want her alone. "Laura," I call out, my voice more steady than I feel. She turns, a smile automatically lighting up her face, but it falters when she sees my expression. "Matt, what's wrong?" she asks, approaching me, concern knitting her brows together. "We need to talk," I say, motioning to a secluded corner of the cafe. As we sit, her hand reaches for mine, but I pull away, unable to bear the touch of betrayal. Her face falls, eyes widening. Matt, you're scaring me. It's about you and him, I say bluntly, my gaze unwavering. The man you've been seeing here. The color drains from her face. She stammers, I don't know what you're. Don't, I cut her off, holding up my phone to show her the text from Frank. I know, Laura. I've seen it myself. Tears well up in her eyes, but my heart is stone. It's not what you think, she whispers. Explain, then, I demand. Before she can respond, the door swings open and in walks the man from the photos, his eyes locking on Laura in a panic as he spots us together. He hesitates, then approaches, his face a mask of confusion and guilt. Is this him? I ask, my voice colder than I intend. Laura nods, tears spilling over. Yes, but. I'm James, the man interrupts, offering his hand, which I don't take. I think there's been a misunderstanding. There's nothing misunderstood about what I saw, I retort. James glances at Laura, who's now sobbing quietly. It's not an affair, Matt. I'm her brother. Silence envelopes the room. What? I blink, taken aback. He's my half-brother, from my father's first marriage. We only recently got in touch, Laura manages to say between her tears. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought you'd feel betrayed. The room spins slightly as relief wars with the remnants of my rage. A brother, I repeat, the word feeling foreign. Why hide that? We wanted to be sure before we disrupted our families, James explains. We were waiting for the DNA test results. They came in last week. I stare at both of them, the anger seeping out of me, replaced by an overwhelming flood of regret. I should have trusted you, I stutter, my voice breaking. Laura reaches for my hand again, this time I don't pull away. I should have told you sooner, she admits, squeezing my hand. We need to talk, I say, this time with a different tone, one of healing. As the three of us sit down to unravel the tangled threads of misunderstanding, I realize how close I came to destroying something precious over shadows and doubts. The path to rebuilding trust looms daunting ahead, but it starts with forgiveness, here and now, amid the early morning buzz of Laura's cafe. The morning after the revelation, the air between Laura and me is thick with unspoken words. I sit across from her at the breakfast table, nursing a strong coffee that does little to clear the haze of my emotions. My heart is a battleground of relief and lingering mistrust. Despite the truth about James being her brother, a part of me is still reeling from the deception, however unintended. Laura breaks the silence first. Matt, we need to fix this, she says, her voice steady yet soft. I never wanted to hurt you. I look up, meeting her earnest gaze. I know, I reply, the words heavy on my tongue. But it's not just about being hurt. It's about trust. And we need to rebuild that, somehow. She nods, her fingers absently tracing the rim of her cup. I want to start by being completely transparent with you. About everything. As we talk, there's a knock at the door. I rise to answer it, puzzled by who could be visiting early on a Saturday morning. Standing on our doorstep is Frank, his face etched with concern. Matt, can we talk? He asks, looking past me to where Laura sits at the table. Sure, Frank. Come in, I say, leading him into the living room. Laura joins us, wiping her hands on a dish towel. I came to apologize, Frank starts, his eyes on Laura. I didn't know he was your brother. I saw you too and thought. His voice trails off, laden with guilt. Laura offers a small, forgiving smile. It's okay, Frank. It was a shock for us too, finding each other after all these years. Frank nods, accepting her words. There's more, he continues, turning to me. I heard a rumor about some guys planning to stir trouble at the cafe. They think it's a perfect spot for some shady dealings. I thought you should know, given everything. The news hits me like a cold splash. What kind of trouble? I ask, the protective instinct kicking in. Nothing confirmed yet, just street talk. But I'll keep my ears open. You guys have enough on your plate, Frank says. After he leaves, Laura and I exchange a worried glance. We can't let anything happen to the cafe, she states, determination in her voice. We won't, I assure her, my mind already racing with plans to protect our place. I'll talk to the local precinct, see if they can do regular rounds. The next few days pass in a flurry of activity. I meet with the police, who agree to increase patrols around the area. Laura and I spend more time at the cafe together, presenting a united front. It feels good, being a team again, but the shadow of the impending threat looms large. One evening, as we close up, a group of unfamiliar faces lingers near the cafe. My pulse quickens as I watch them from the window. Let's wait till they leave, I suggest, locking the front door. But the group doesn't disperse, instead, they start heading towards us. I can feel Laura's anxiety mirroring my own. As they approach, I step forward, positioning myself protectively in front of Laura. Can I help you? I call out, my voice firm. The tallest among them, a broad-shouldered man with a scar running down his cheek, stops a few feet away. Heard this place might be open to hosting some private events, he says, a smirk playing on his lips. Not interested, I reply curtly, trying not to show any intimidation. We'll pay good money, another adds, stepping closer. We're not interested, Laura repeats, her voice stronger than I've seen in days. They size us up, the tension palpable in the air. After a moment that feels like an eternity, the scarred man nods, and they back away. Your loss, he calls over his shoulder as they retreat. When they're out of sight, Laura and I let out a collective sigh of relief. We handled that well, she says, a tremulous smile breaking through her worry. We did, I agree, feeling a surge of pride and love for this woman who's been through so much with me. Together, we can handle anything. As we lock up and head home, I feel a renewed sense of partnership. Our journey to rebuild trust is just beginning, but tonight, we took a significant step forward, not just in protecting our cafe, but in safeguarding our future together. The weeks following the confrontation at the cafe bring a superficial calm to our lives, but the undercurrents of distrust never fully dissipate. Laura and I spend our days like actors in a well-rehearsed play, each scene painted with smiles and shared tasks, yet our nights are silent, filled with the echoes of unsaid words. One brisk afternoon, as autumn leaves dance playfully along the sidewalk, I decide to surprise Laura at the cafe with an early dinner plan. As I push open the door, the familiar chime greets me, but the scene before me does not. Laura is there, not with customers, but in a fervent discussion with James. Their heads are close together, their conversation hushed and intense. Something about their body language, a hand touch here, a concerned glance there, ignites a familiar flare of suspicion in me. I approach quietly, catching a fragment of their conversation. He can never know the truth, James. It would ruin everything, Laura whispers, not yet aware of my presence. James nods, his expression grave. I know, but this is getting harder to conceal. We're running out of time. Laura spots me then, her face turning ghostly pale. Matt. You're early. Her voice trails off, guilt written all over her face. I can't contain the turmoil inside me. What truth, Laura? What are you hiding now? The cafe falls silent, the few patrons turning to look at us. It's not what it seems, Laura begins, but I cut her off. I've heard that before, I snap, anger and betrayal twisting inside me. I want the truth, now. James steps forward, a resigned look on his face. It's not her fault, Matt. We were trying to protect you from the bigger picture. Explain. Now, I demand, my voice booming in the quiet cafe. James exhales deeply. We're not just siblings. We've been involved in a... Stop, Laura interrupts, tears brimming in her eyes. It was supposed to be a one-time thing to save the cafe from those thugs. But it spiraled out. We laundered money through the cafe, Matt. Just enough to pay them off and keep them away. But it didn't stop. The room spins as her confession sinks in. The woman I loved, entangled in crime, using our cafe as a front. You lied, used me, all this while. My voice is barely a whisper, laced with heartache. Laura reaches out, but I step back. I thought I could fix it before you found out. I thought I could protect you, she pleads, her voice breaking. You chose lies over trust, Laura. You chose deceit over us, I say, the finality of my words sealing the chasm between us. I'm sorry, Matt. More than you can know, she whispers. I want both of you out of my life. The cafe, everything. It's over, I declare, turning to leave, the final pieces of my broken heart settling into a new, cold resolve. As I walk away, the last sight I have is of Laura, her face crumpled in sorrow, and James, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The autumn wind feels sharper as it whips around me, echoing the hollow space inside where love and trust once lived. The deception was deep, and so is the chasm it leaves behind. As I step out into the fading light, I know this is an end and a beginning. An end to us, to what I thought was real. And the beginning of a new chapter, one where the only footsteps I need to follow are my own.